Well, gentlemen, are you ready for another show?
Ready as can be.
Fantastic. Shane Vadron's not here for the start of it, but oh well.
Oh. What happened to him? What's he up to?
I don't know. I think he got ransacked by real life.
That real life will get you.
Every single time. 50% of the time, it hits you all of the time.
All right, and we are live.
All right. Hello and welcome to Station42, your StarCitizen community and content-focused talk show. Today's show is put on by the illustrious Vadron Malik and myself, Trez Ion, with the technical wizardry and general voice of reason, Mr. Godric. Say hello, Godric.
What's up, guys?
All right. Alas, Vadron is running a bit late on account of the whole, life thing, but he'll be joining us later in the show. Wrapping up our support team is Irv Nation, commander of content comedy collusions. May his alliterations carry us well into the afterlife. And let's not forget today's sponsor, Aegis Dynamics, making spaceships with wings since 19,045. I can't even say that with a straight face. Screw those guys. You don't put wings on spaceships. RSI for life. Anyways. All right. And finally, our broadcast is strongly supported by the StarCitizen Facebook community, aka Ready Player One. The epic info of StarCitizen subreddit. Those guys are awesome over there. Twitch, Twitter, and of course, the amazing people at CIG who keep our community thriving. And don't ever forget all those crazy content creators out there, because they keep our life interesting between all the release goodness. Anyhow, with that out of the way, now on to the good stuff. Today, I'd like to introduce our special guest, John Cena. No, just kidding. Anyway, hey John, what's your handle?
It's Yack.
Yack, love it. All right, well, Yack, he's a fellow StarCitizen killing it all the way from Tennessee. Longtime backer with a single Avenger in his fleet. So I gotta admire any man who starts out with just a single ship. And kudos for the choice, because the Avenger is a sexy starter, I would say. I hear you currently fly for Tactical Gamer. Hello. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, my name's John. I've been playing Star Citizen for a couple of years now, just kind of watching as the upgrades and stuff come along and as new patches roll out, and watching around the verse and all this type of thing. It's been good times. Like I say, I'm a co-worker with Vadron, and I ran into the hall and said, "Holy cow! He's watching Star Citizen. He brought me into this thing." So sounds good. We're
Very
glad to be
nice.
here.
Yeah, no, it's always fantastic when you actually can have that nerdy game relationship with people you work with.
That's right. Yeah. Now it's like we're having to meet in the halls and go for laps around the building or something.
But and that way, if they betray you, you can always show up to work and kick them in the balls.
That's right. Well, now especially since he's such a piratey type of person, I was like, whoa, man, he's just gonna greet me in and just shoot me in the face and roll out. I guess I'm sure.
No, hardly. I think there's going to be all types of players. It'll be fun. So, and plus, he says pirate, but his definition of it, I think, is a little different. I think he's going for the more mercenary, wants to roll out as kind of the hitter, the cleaner / assassin type. So we'll see.
Yep, sounds good. I'd like to say all of this is going to be great as they roll in more and more game mechanics into the stuff, and I think it's amazing how much we're doing with as little as that's there. It's like we're making up all
right?
this stuff and making it happen, and they're just giving us the tools to play.
Yeah, no, I mean, tell me about it. 2.4 is it's gonna change the entire nature of the game, and even with as little game mechanic wise as we've had prior to this, we've still managed to find ways to create our own content, our own adventures, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And 2.4, I know they added some of the they're going to be starting doing the persistent stuff there, and that's going to change hugely, because like right now it's like I can just keep assaulting and dying and rolling and doing things, and there's like actual repercussions from that, or if I can't, once that starts, then it's going to change drastically what's going to be going down.
Yep. No, it's exciting stuff. I know the community's been struggling with the wait, and so hopefully we'll see it on the PTU servers for the general PTU, and then eventually to live in short order. So I mean, personally, it doesn't really bother me. This game is a marathon, and anytime they take a little bit longer to get something done, it just gives me time to cool off and actually play something else. Because anytime they're hot and they've got new content coming, one after another, I find that I can't pull myself away to play any other games.
Right.
Anyhow, so topics tonight, man. I promised the community we were going to do some caterpillar discussion. Are you familiar with the Drake caterpillar?
Oh yeah, it's a humongous humongous cargo vessel. I was like, oh my god, I think it'll be amazing watching that stuff happen. One of the things that I find kind of interesting is how they're going to do the actual cargo loading and like how you're going to put it on instead of just manifest. I mean, in all the space games I've ever played all my life or whatever, it's always been you go into the starbase, you dock, you say I want 7 tons of this or 2 tons of that, and you're trying to do all these systems to figure out what's going to be a better price here and there. But like actually getting out there and loading it, getting those ships filled up or whatever, and making sure that are you going to have like a special place where you put all the special cargo that you can easily jettison, or can you jettison from anything? I mean, all that's going to be fascinating to me.
Oh well, and that's actually our major topic tonight. So we'll come back around and deep dive each of those little key elements. Did you happen to see the picture that Sandy Gardner posted of the caterpillar today?
No, I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Oh man, if you actually scroll down to the bottom of the show notes that I linked to, there's a link there that'll take you to it. It's up on Imgur right now and on her Facebook. But it just shows one of the side loading cargo modules where the whole side like unlocks and swings down, giving access to the side. The caterpillar.
Which link is it?
It is the cat internal sneak peek. Second link at the bottom of the notes. I'll put them in the show notes when we get to the end too, so any of our listeners can check it out if they like.
Well, I'll just put it
if
in
you want
now.
Perfect. Yeah, no. The Caterpillar's been one of my favorite ships purely on account of the fact that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, they did a ship popularity poll on the RSI forums, and they had 10,000 people answer it. So it was a pretty solid sampling of data for the overall community. And the Caterpillar was one of the least owned ships if you excluded ships like the Scythe or the Idris that were, just super limited in availability. So obviously not a lot of people were sold on its original concept. So I don't know if that's just because of its aesthetics, because of the brand that it's a Drake ship, or just that people, I don't know, weren't convinced that it was going to be, worth it.
So how is the Caterpillar the evil twin of the Freelancer? I mean, what makes it the choice? It sounds to me like that's going to be the choice for pirates. I'm curious why.
Yeah. I don't know. I never thought that when they build it as the evil twin, even back in the original concept sale, the Caterpillar was so much larger than the Freelancer. I was like, that doesn't really make sense. The Freelancer seems like it would be a maneuverable, cargo carrying ship that can shield its cargo, whereas the Caterpillar looks like it's slow moving, and it's very unwieldy. It's like a giant.
I think you'd have police force, or like your pirates would be in the ship, and then they would jump out, go and grab all the stuff, and then shove it into the cargo bays, and then flee out after they shot it, shoot up a base, steal all the stuff, and then now you can actually carry it off, I guess.
Well, they have definitely said that it's supposed to be a ship that can excel at boarding operations. It's meant to, basically forcibly plug itself into. It even says that it's meant to, be able to attack frigates. So the only frigate I know of right now is an Idris. So it's kind of scary. So, so I'm guessing that it would be able to either punch a hole and then forcibly send pirates or whatever boarding forces in, but the thing is too, is if you watch one of the newer videos where they were showing some of the white box stuff and some of tricks and interesting front modules that they were looking at. They actually had what they call like a human catapult, like basically something that would sling launch a EVA personnel at a target to execute boarding operations.
Awesome.
They just
And it also has a
rail
grav
gunning
system,
people
right?
out of
So
it.
when you attack it, you're going to be able to turn off the gravity in it and have the whole, 0G fights in there as well, right?
Right. I think it's going to get bigger too, because I initially its original size was pretty hefty compared to like the Freelancer, but with the way ships have gone lately and like having to get upscaled for SCU, cargo capacity and the more modularity and unifying all of that, I think the ship overall has gotten a little bit bigger again. Have you guys seen the link that hosted the size comparison of it, where they had it next to like a hull B and amidst some scaffolding? It looks pretty nice.
Right.
I mean, that's
I
just
have
pretty
not
to
seen
see.
that one, no.
Oh, well, that link's down there too. Yeah, I think overall the Caterpillar, what's going to make it special is that. But here, going back to your question, John, is you were saying like what is going to make this a pirate choice? I think it's a misnomer that that you can build lore or even put a pirate-ish name on a ship and suggest that it's going to be good for pirates, and that's going to mean that it's a de facto choice. What's going to make a ship valuable to a player that's functioning outside of the law is going to be a ship that's either cheap to buy, cheap to repair, very utilitarian. Because think about it. Even right now in the persistent universe, if you cross over into the criminal side, you lose your ability to go back to Port Olisar because it drops off of your HUD. You lose the ability to easily repair your ship at Cryastro because now you've got security spawning and coming after you. So if it's modular, that means it's going to be versatile. If it's
maybe it
cheap
could
to
have
maintain,
gas in the cargo hold so that you could repair other little mining. Like if you had your personnel in your clan or whatever could get in that one ship, and then like you'd be able to have other base runs and then have that as a base of operations, so they don't have to go back to the the other ports whenever they do stuff. That would be nice.
Right. Yeah, it does. I imagine it would work in the roles of either like a part of a boarding operation, like a larger pirate fleet. I imagine it would work as a smaller base of operations, perhaps like with repair facilities, with its modules being able to open up on the side. It just seems like the actual pickup truck. Where while we have all these other ships that are just gorgeous, but suffer in their functionality, I think the Caterpillar might be one of the first ships that's a little more true to what a spaceship would be like. It's almost like a space shuttle. It's got giant bays that open up, and
Well, right. So you have a pirate. You have pirates sitting and waiting like the cargo route, and then you go in and disable shields, disable engines on the other cargo vessels. Then you fly in with the Caterpillar and then extract all that stuff off of those ships or the debris piles or whatever. Put them, load up, and then roll out, and then those same attackers that attacked before are the defenders for your own pirate, vessel, that you're going to come back with, or like your cargo ships now. You need protection to keep from other pirates, I guess.
Yep. What about you, Godric? Any thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with the. It looks more like a spaceship than spaceship with wings part. That's that one, the Caterpillar and the whole series. I think when I think space, I think not of something aerodynamic, but of something out of the movie Alien. Something that's just some behemoth that for some reason is capable of flying through space.
Right. The good old Nostromo.
Yes.
Yeah, another thought is so you can separate the command module. And, in the original concept, they talk about, for quick getaways, you can separate the command module. Somehow, I am not seeing that command module as separating and being super slick, fast getaway ship. But I will say this: imagine like the scenario that Yack was talking about, where like you pull up to a ship that you've already disabled, you strip all of its equipment out and all of its cargo and loot. You load it up with your rapid, easy to load in space, cargo options, and then you board up. You drop into an asteroid field. You detach, power down your booty, and leave it hidden, and then you fly out. So that way, when the police come looking,
You're like, I don't have anything. I'm just this tiny, space bug.
Right. I'm between transports. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, I got your damn sandwiches.
Sweet,
hey.
he's finally here.
Yeah, I got
Sandwich
extra beef sausage with heavy mayo.
Nice.
All right, Vadron, welcome to the stream.
All right, I have no idea where we're at, and I apologize.
We're talking about the sexy, the unsexy, sexy caterpillar. Yeah.
She's
pretty
the
much.
only I hate to say this, not to be derogatory or anything to anybody with weight problems, but she's pretty because she's the ugly or fat chick in the room. I guess that's the generic term. She's like. It's the only asymmetric ship left, right?
Not counting the scythe. I think she's the only other asymmetric ship.
But I like that it's asymmetric because it's got even the multi levels, like the different floors that have different routes and stuff, and it's clearly defined. Like, oh, this is where the barracks would be, or something, or this would be where the cargo vessels are, and how you'd open up the side doors and all that kind of stuff. All that's fantastic.
Thankfully, the Starfarer is asymmetric on the inside. Otherwise, I think I'd go nuts.
And the thing is, too, is speaking of Drake's ships, I mean, we can take a short segue and talk about the Herald.
Sure.
Oh, my God. I am so sad. So sad that the Herald has gone back to symmetry. I just, the thing was I had accepted it. I had accepted it because, Lord Commander Roberts decided that it was going to have to be symmetrical because of all the problems with the scythe flying with its cheating physics, and so I got it. And then seeing the work that they just did on the Herald recently, I was really impressed. I was like, wow, I'm actually kind of getting hyped about it again, from its aesthetics, and it does look good. But then I watched Gray-Headed Gamer rock out with one of his ship comparison videos again, and he just delivers amazing content. He put together this video where he showed him side by side the old model and the new, and even with the thickening up of it and improvements, those are all fantastic. But looking at that overhead profile with that that reverse swept wing on the one side and the ballast on the other with missiles or whatever it has, sensors, oh God, I just, please put it back.
Every time I see it, I think it's like a little bitty seat with giant rockets on it anyway. So I've always kind of had a weird feeling about it. I always think for some odd reason of fleas. I don't know why, but it's it's really small in the front and really bulbous in the back.
Right. Did you ever see that art piece where they took the concept and then they overlaid a chameleon on top of it and Photoshop edited it so that it looked like a chameleon / hair? Oh my God, it was hilarious.
You're gonna have to post that on the links in the YouTube.
I will. We actually used it as the banner on the Facebook group for quite a while. It was I can't look at it without cracking up every single time. Totally worth it a second run. We'll do that.
So are we going with the name or are we going with the handle for our guest?
He's been introduced to both today. So Yack is his
I'm good with
handle.
either.
So how's it going, John Yack?
Very good, very good. I've had good times talking with these guys about the different ships and stuff that they're going.
Yeah, they were saying something about you running naked through the halls at work, and that's why you're late here today because.
Okay. I thought we were going to put that under wraps.
Well, you know what? Never mind.
Under wraps, he says.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if we move on to the next topic, that'll be the sexlicious cargo interactions.
All right.
Who's
Yeah.
excited about cargo?
Yeah, I do have to say, as a guest, like being on the cargo show, I mean, that's got to be just the pinnacle of excitement, right?
You know,
I'm just
you
saying,
say that,
no,
but there's
no
a
sexy
lot to it.
spaceships flying around and blowing up stuff, fight dog fighting,
Let's
or
talk
do that.
about
Let's talk
cargo.
about cargo. That's right.
Hey, well, we picked cargo so that way it could make you look sexy.
No, that's right. That's right. But so too the interactions, I mean, I can't wait to see like how they're gonna have like the back, like are they gonna have like people sitting in the back of the cargo ship just loading, running like having to like use like Xbox controllers to like rotate and spin and put cargo in this right spot. Like I was watching one of their like grabby hand videos, and they had
Oh,
like
yeah.
literally like a box. It's like you have a cargo box, and then you have like a set of guns, and then inside the cargo box you have like 20 little like pixel points that you have to drag the gun
Right,
and lock
nodes.
it, and then when you let go, it like eases down into its into that location, like when you're filling cargo with ammo or pistols or what have you. So I mean, all that
Unnoticed.
sounds kind of fascinating.
Say hi, Katrina.
Hi, Katrina.
There you go. I apologize for the interruption. She's really interested in me and being. Yes, it's the sexy guy, Aunt Deb.
I have no idea what just happened.
Wow.
Hey,
Don't worry about it.
that's
It's
okay.
fine.
The show got voice bombed. Sounds good. Hello, Katrina.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she said hello back. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, no. So, John, the document where they talk about the cargo design document where they showed all those videos, it was pretty mind blowing. And like, it may not sound like a sexy topic, but it really is, because I think so much of this game is going to be tied around, moving things from point A to point B. As much as that doesn't sound particularly fun, when you make it engaging, where it can be. So some of the data points that I pulled out of that I thought was pretty interesting is they talked about stasis fields. So in other words, if you have a cargo hold, you basically have all these plates on the ground that designate where the stasis field will exist. And everything that you put within that's fully contained within that, when you turn on the stasis field, gets locked into position. So it doesn't turn your cargo bay into, a shrapnel city when you're doing high G maneuvers in combat.
Although, wouldn't it be fun though if like all of a sudden like one of your cargo elements has got some sort of precious cargo that is sensitive to motion or something like that.
Right.
You get like gunfire hitting the side of the hull or something like that, and then that thing starts to it needs to blow, and someone has to like jump out, run back to the back, and like re-engage some key sequence to secure it, or what reinitialize the station field or something like that. That'd be totally fun.
The thing is that can happen, because if you lose power or something, and so say maybe your stasis field is one of your subsystems that you have to maintain. I mean, just like if you were playing Space Engineers, like you have your reactors and they generate so much energy, and you've got all these different subsystems that take energy, and if you take fire and you lose a part of your ship, I mean, it's the same thing. If they cut off a pipe or something, you might have to run back and reroute, because meanwhile, all that cargo that was not shrapnel might suddenly turn into, basically make you risk becoming spaghetti by crossing through your hold to get to the far side to repair what needs to be repaired. So it'd be pretty interesting.
So have they mentioned anything about stasis fields, or could I just jack up the gravity in certain sections of my ship to do the same thing?
I think it's directly over cargo plates that are designed specifically for that, and I don't know that it'll affect players. I don't know. That would be
because
really
like if
interesting.
you have liquids or something like that, I mean, you'd want to contain them. Maybe I can see where the gravity might be better than the stasis field, so you're not sloshing around as much.
Well, at the same time, though, if one of the containers were to break, it would just mean that it leaks that much quicker.
And is that a concept that they're going to have, like leaking and or like damage, or like I was wondering if like when you're loading the cargo out, like you would have like let's say you needed to jettison cargo, you would have specific things that like contraband or whatever, and you want to dump that whenever you're about to get scanned by the cops or what have you. You would put that in a special place that you could push the button and deject. I mean, I know when you deject, is there going to be the multiple stages of whether it's like you can eject it into an asteroid field, but it still has your name on it, or eject it out in the middle of space and just put your name off of it, and that way, other people, it's either illegal or people can find it and collect it, without having to trade ownership, I guess.
I'm thinking that items like that in general would have a lifespan anyway. So, like, if you were to eject an item, it would only show up in that instance, and if you didn't return to that instance in, say, X amount of time, the object would be gone again. So there is that to contend with. But I wouldn't think that you would be able to have a unless the item just happened to be, ship roster floating in space. I really don't think that you're going to actually have a method to associate a particular item to a particular player.
Yeah, I just don't know. I do know that they have talked about intending to allow cargo to sustain damage, though, which means I imagine that depending on the quality of the casing that you purchase, you might be able to affect whether or not the cargo can withstand being spaced or not. That might make for some interesting gameplay elements, because if you're a pirate and you stop a merchant and you're like, okay, hey, you need to space your cargo or else we're gonna gun you down, and the merchant's like, hey, well, I've got spaced tomatoes and they're open containers, so good luck with that.
Well, so like if say a cargo is jettisoned or whatever out in space, and like I come up in my Avenger because I have like a tiny little ship. Like, am I gonna be able, like, if my back of the back of the Avenger has a little bit of a cargo hold, am I gonna like lower the gate, EVA, grabby hand, drag it in, put it on the thing, rise up, and then try to climb over it to get back into my into the driver's seat?
Pretty much, yes.
Backwards.
That is the intention. So I really, grabby hands isn't slated for 2.4. But I'm very excited for it. I'm hoping that we see like 2.5 or 2.6. We see cargo, grabby hands, and the beginnings of ships having the ability to, lock down and move cargo. Just because it would be fantastic to actually begin to have that in-game economy,
Right. Well, then cargo leads into economy, which then leads into the entire commodities market, and how is that going to work? So that's a huge topic, I'm sure.
Before we get too far off track, I was kind of excited about the comments for the destructible or destroyable cargo, because I was thinking of, like, what happens if you have a boatload of grenades and pine crates? It kind of makes for another type of interesting gameplay, where if you just happen to know that you have this box of ammunition, and if you shoot it a few times, it'll blow up. Then, it kind of serves as a fun booby trap, possibly, for people that would be trying to take the ship.
Well, you want to know what's another fun potential booby trap? So grabby hands is supposed to allow you to manipulate, like, say, a pile of multiple items, and you could drop them all and have them all, spread out. So imagine, you have like, 3 or 4 grenades. Not even just one grenade. Instead of throwing the grenade, you just, pull the pins and just drop a pile of them all at once and watch them go scattering across the floor, turn and hightail it around the corner or something. That could make for some nasty, unplanned for, kinds of booby traps.
Thinking about a grenade in 0G just sounds like fun to me anyway. Could you imagine just baseballing that thing across a room? And
Oh, man. It'd be like one of those cheap rubber balls that we all played with from the vending machines when we were kids,
Right.
For those of us
Super
born
high
in the
bounce.
1900s.
Super high bounce with shrapnel blast in it.
Right. It does make me wonder, though, if down the road with grabby hands, if we'll end up having, because there's already Kickstarters out there for VR hand controllers where you can literally manipulate your individual fingers and your arm position on a character.
Oh wow!
I wonder if we'll ever see that.
Why not just use the Kinect or whatever? Just get the steal it from your Xbox, put it on your PC, and roll with it.
Oh, maybe.
Now that it's on Windows 10 and everything, I guess you could buy that for like $100.
So using a Kinect Call of Duty rifle to play Star Citizen and actually do FPS action, hell yeah.
Well, no, I don't even mean like that. I mean to manipulate items, like an upgrade from grabby hands, which I imagine will animate very well, or they'll try to design it to animate based on the context of what you're reaching for, touching, or around. But imagine if they take it a step further where, you move your hand up and left and your character moves his hand up and left and grabs something, So
I'm surprised they didn't just use the 0-point energy gun from like Half-Life. I mean, like that, or like well, like what's that game, Portal 2 or something like that, where you're controlling it, but that way you're not having, like they did the grabby hands to be able to like show like, hey, we can actually make it where the human goes up and puts 2 hands around the box and carries it to the location. And I get that that's a cool realism that I have never seen in a game before, but like there's already lots of precedent for this type of concept that you have a gun that you shoot and then that can lift and carry and drop and do whatever the object is.
Right.
It's pretty well known in sci-fi, yeah.
That's what the Tavarn are for.
Yeah, it's a tiny tractor.
Right. Well, I mean, I think because they wanted to make it a little more, I guess, by making it more akin to modern real life, it gives it a little bit of I guess legitimacy. Even though technically we could hand wavy on the sci-fi and use that as a solution too.
I guess as a noob here, as a question, I have the larger ships. Do you have like in the ships are the like secondary crew member stations? Are any of those working well enough to like actually click around and do things?
Not yet.
Some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, kind
Well,
of.
but they don't really do anything. I mean, you can access them.
You can shoot.
And that's not working very well either.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like in that cargo ship. I mean, in the Caterpillar, you're going to have like obviously like stations and terminals where you're going to be able to go through the inventory and click around and look at stuff or whatever, and be able to like multi-select, and then I guess I'd want some sort of like is the concept that you'll have a combination of you manually moving all the objects off the cargo, and then another combination of saying like multi-select and transfer all of these, or like giving orders to drones or something like that when you're at a larger substation. Like versus like when you're in space, you're like grabbing it with robotic arms or something. But like when you land at a port, like I would think they would be like similar to the things that refuel you at the gas station. You'd have something like that that would take out the things that you're transferring. Is that true?
Either of you guys want to answer this, or shall I?
I was busy reading up on the future notes from certain people, so I actually kind of zoned out on that one. Sorry.
All right. Well, I got you covered. Yeah, don't worry. All right. So, intention-wise, of course, who knows how long it'll take to get it implemented. But the intention is that you have 2 options. You have the NPC option. And NPCs, like you can pay them to unload, and then you'll watch them animate as they go in and out of your ship, and they slowly carry out all your cargo. Or you as a player could choose to manually unload. And as a player, you might actually be able to do it quicker, but then it's not automated. And really, it's just a matter of, is that fun for you? Or, I mean, and it might be one of those things where in most cases you hire an NPC just because you got other things you want to be doing, or there might be that one time where you're in a hurry and the cargo is important and you need to get going, so you do it yourself. They've also talked about everything from like where you hand carry the cargo out, like using grabby hands, to automated waypoint systems where like certain cargo, if it's been upgraded and includes boosters, you can set waypoints, and those like 6 directions of freedom boosters will literally maneuver your cargo where it needs to go. And I imagine that'll be the case on the large ships like the Hull series, because the Hull series, I mean, Jesus, that thing's going to have like freaking thousands of objects potentially.
Thousands of spinning cargo vessels.
Right. Yep.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I like the combination of MC versus the not, and it just like in the regular ships or anything else, or in that ship, you're going to be able to have like if you got the operator back there versus NPC, you're going to get more control, or maybe you'll have better gas efficiency if you're moving things about, or if you're laying things out in a specific way, you're not going to tilt or whatever. I don't know, different effects on the ship, I guess, that you have based on where you put the cargo.
There are going to be some flight mechanics, like so in theory, if you got all the heavy stuff on the back of the ship but you have nothing at the front, then it should, in theory, change the way that you fly. You know that it would in real life, so it only makes sense that it would happen in game as well.
Right.
I mean, of course, I got to think about this from a like FedEx is not far from where I am, and they have like even now they have tons of computer systems that figure out how and where they're going to fill a plane to most efficiently shove that into the thing, and they have very consistent pods. Their pods are very the same shape as they fill them and then slide them in one after another. So there's a whole mess of science around that.
Yeah, I imagine the logistics. I mean, I really hope that CIG does their homework. I mean, they're going to have to, because obviously anybody who knows anything about modern day logistics, if they look at it and say, well, we've got better than this right now, yeah. Plus it's got to be smooth enough that it doesn't suck. If it's not fun, Right.
And I guess that's the other thing. So, like, what kinds of things are you going to have on a cargo ship when you're doing these long hauls to, like, stay entertained by this activity, right? I mean, because they're going to have interdictions where people are going to be trying to pull you out of warp, or are they going to have to? So how's that going to fly?
Right. Well, I mean, aside from one hand on the throttle and one hand on the your stick,
Ouch.
Oh. Anyways.
Besides all that,
I mean, I imagine there will probably be some in-game things that you can do to manipulate the efficiency of the trip. That if you micromanage it by hand, maybe you'll squeeze out more efficiency on your fuel or your route or whatever, or lower signature, so less likely to be interdicted. I don't know. We've heard, of course, that some ships may actually have VR pods specifically, so you can mess around in Arena Commander between on long jumps. I don't know how. I don't know if I'd feel weird trying to commit to a 20-minute match though during.
Yeah,
I guess.
Plus, who's going to be on point?
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, if you have like when you're doing these long hauls, like the whole using the Starcock, figuring out the stars to go to, are you going to have fuel scoops and try to get more fuel? Maybe the cargo ships are going to have tons of gas and stuff, so you won't have to, you're going to trade some of your cargo space for longer, haul gas needs for yourself, more range, and yep, I could see all of that being a deal.
Speaking of something interesting, I was re-going over the metrics. Like, every time they patch, they're always sneaking in changes to ships. So I was playing around with the 300 series, comparing the 325 to the 315 to the 350. And, the racer, like, what was really interesting is the 325 slows down really well. So it's not super fast. Its acceleration is decent. But what it does really well is if you're at full, like say you're at full cruise speed, it will slow back down into a reasonable combat speed really quickly. Whereas if you're flying the racer, like, it's super fast and it gets to speed pretty quick. But if you would like to stop, good luck. Now, so that made me log over and I tested out the 315, which normally I never fly. Well, what I found with the 315 is it had about roughly the same, like it had about the same speed as the 325, and so it was a decent fighter in that sense, but it takes way longer for it to get to its full speed. So I'm wondering if that's how they're going to simulate the idea of, well, a ship that has more fuel efficiency, therefore longer range, may not have the acceleration performance that you see in a dedicated fighter. The interesting thing about that is then that begs the question is, well, if you have a cargo ship, how is the performance going to change laden versus unladen?
Well, I think that, speed maybe, but also jump distances as well. Like if you're going to have less weight, so you're obviously going to be able to jump and, you can make the trip empty faster to get to a cargo location, but once you fill it up, then your trip back, you're going to have to take more hops to get back. Like if you've got many star points to go, and like depending on how far you have to jump between each star.
Right.
I picked up the DUR for kind of thing like that because I looked at the extra fuel and my angle is the less you have to stop, the less you're going to get assaulted basically by would-be people looking to pick you off, and so I picked up the Dare actually as a transport hauler ship and also part exploration for that reason. Just to kind of go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it'll be interesting too, as whether or not if they do it so that space is actually filled with content that as a explorer or as a cargo ship or whatever, as you're flying, that you would run into those I guess encounters, right? Now, are they going to make it so that these encounters are there so that if you're clever about your flight plan and the angles that you fly through space, that you can dodge those encounters? And so if you are trying to stay out of harm's way, you can literally navigate yourself around events? Or is it going to be more like, say, for instance, I'm playing Space Engineers, and in Space Engineers, you have these asteroid strikes that happen like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, and they always target your base, which is unrealistic. But if they made them randomly occurring, the likelihood of your base ever actually coming under asteroid attack would be ridiculously low. So in other words, are they going to have these events basically randomly crop up based on the time you've been flying, or other metrics?
Would you like to talk about how it works in Elite Dangerous? Because they have several mechanics there that could play over into this, I guess. Like they have one of the things is they have like when you go from place to place, there is a nav beacon that is near the star, usually like towards the central of the star, and then like the planets are out, in rings, obviously going out from that star.
Right.
Well, when you warp in, you typically warp into that same kind of nav point area, and so like as pirates, you're gonna have that's an opportunity for pirates to come in and try to take you out. But whenever you warp in, you have two options. Like when you warp in, you land at the location and you see your local radar, so you see points that are, a lot of them are random generated locations, whether it's strong, weak signals or undefined signals, right? And then you can see other players traveling, like they look like little stars flying around, and so you can try to navigate, and you're going really quick. When you come out of warp, you still haven't slowed down yet, and so you're moving quickly, and you can navigate around that. And then if someone is kind of waiting for you sitting there, and then they hit you with this interdiction thing, which basically takes you out of warp, you have it's like a mini game where if you're in a fighter, you like try to ride the wave, and there's like a circle that's moving around the screen, and you have to put your crosshairs on the circle. And if you're a fighter and you can navigate around it, you're going to be able to get out of. You can either win that fight and the guy doesn't pull you out, or if he targets you during that little, that during game mechanic, then he wins, and then he can start shooting at you and that kind of stuff, right? Well, if you submit, like as a cargo ship, you're not going to be able to outmaneuver that, right? But what you can do is if you submit immediately, then your like jump gas immediately recharges faster than it would if you lost that interdiction thing, right? And so if you do that, then that way the cargo ship would be like, oh crap, I'm about to get attacked, I'm throwing flares, and then I submit and then hit rocket boost out or whatever to get away from that opposing attacker.
So first off, what I've heard from CR stating is that the entrances to a jump point are going to be kind of semi-static. There's some of them that are just going to disappear, and then there's going to be some of them that are always there. They're going to reappear, disappear, and they're going to change variably from time to time, so that you have to go and buy new map coordinates via the explorers that gives them something to do for income. But basically, these jump points are going to be semi-temporary. They're not going to actually be there all the time, and so the entrances are going in certain key places are going to be very unpredictable. Secondly, when you go through the jump point, depending on your performance flying through it, you can wind up in a completely different side of the system. If you did poorly, it might like jettison you and push you out further than what you normally would be. But even then, if you flew it perfectly, it's still going to be a range of about 20,000 kilometers of variable spawn space where you're going to be. So a pirate organization would have to both fly the entrances that are prone to change and then fly loops around the exits, which are also prone to change. Now, what I would do as a pirate, using your analogy for interdiction and everything, is I would actually sit between two very commonly trafficked planets or hubs, if you will. And that way, I would actually have a chance to actually catch people going through an obvious path and not necessarily through an entrance or an exit, because they've said specifically that they do not want player organizations to have a very easy time at controlling a certain area of space.
I will say it would be really interesting, going back to what you're talking about, them giving a very, we know that there's going to be a variable exit, and that some jump nodes may disappear or appear. What would be interesting is if they made every single jump gate, even the ones that are known. Like, say you have a major jump gate that fits large ships, it's between Earth and the closest system, and it is super constantly used because it's a high traffic area. But you still have it migrate to like 5 or 6 or 7, or
Probably.
or just give it a random place that it appears within a radius of a certain point. And so it only shifts so often randomly. But so what it does is then you have all your short range exploration ships all like scramble to go find the new entrance point, locate it, report it. Somebody gets a payday, and if it's a high traffic system that's easy to find because there's a lot of people, then that payday may not be a whole lot, because it's just free money. But when you're out on some systems, that might be a really big thing, because when you take off, you might need to like get you might need to pay somebody, a data runner, for the most current data on where that jump point is, so that when you lift off the planet with your cargo, you can make a beeline, and then you run into this situation where you could get bad data and and be flying into a trap, so it depends on the reputation and so on and so forth.
Well, I could also see that, like, when you go through the jump gate and you pop out into a system somewhere, like, there's going to be like planets that are in their orbit, I guess, and they'll have stations and stuff, or bases on on the planet and stuff like that. Well, those things are going to be more fixed, so your fighter attackers can be there. So like, when you're doing traversal from place, from star to star to star to star, it's kind of in that more random location. So you have the opportunity where you're just like, I'm just trying to get for this long distance, and only every once in a while would someone be able to pull you out. Whereas once you got into the place you're trying to get to, there's still that level of like, I've got to beeline it from the jump gate, wherever it popped me out, to the actual base that I'm trying to land and unload the cargo on. And that too gives you that sense of hey, I've got to get through the gate, I got to get request docking, all those kinds of things, and land and all that stuff. And then that's where you hire your helpers.
I'm kind of guessing though that the larger the jump point, the more static it is. So I'm thinking the small ones will be kind of hard to find, hard to get, and they're meant for people to have an option to traverse lesser known or hard. So the pirates have got to be able to travel somehow, some way, somewhere to get from point A to point B. So I that's one of the things that I look at is the smaller the jump point, the lesser it's going to be easy, the less chance it's going to be able to be found. When I think of the large gates, like what you were describing, Traz, I think of the comm arrays that we currently have in the current game. I think of like a beacon array that says that it's always going to be within 20,000, 10,000 clicks of this point, and then your scanners would pick up the jump beacon from the actual jump point from there.
Sure.
So that way they're always constantly in flux, but they might be below you or above that array, or they might be to the left or to the right, but it's a general node of where it's always going to be at for the large, heavily trafficked ones.
Right. You could even have like a network of comm arrays in a populated system, so that way every time that jump point does move, they know where it is. And that way, like, because it's UE controlled and it's high traffic, so strong UE presence, that data the data of where it is at any given point in time is common. It's not like it might be a community service. However, by keeping that mechanic in place where the jump where you would initiate your jump point from, having it still randomly change, means that if pirates invaded the system and shut down the comm arrays right before the change in where that
I
jump
got
point
you.
win. All of a sudden, now you've got to scramble mercenaries or police forces to to intercept the pirates and get into that dark zone to see what's going on. You got to send out explorers to re-find it again, so it's not automatic. It's not always a given. I mean, it might be a given 99% of the time, but that one time when there's a big opposition force, it would be really interesting. I think also the cool thing about that would mean that even if you knew where the jump point was,
You never really knew.
Well, I mean, let's say you had good information. The pirates, if you wanted a pirate, you would know that you could set up near that and try to catch somebody. And both good for you as the pirate and good for the person who's trying to break through your blockade is if they can break through your blockade and hit the jump point, even if you follow them through the jump point, it deposits you in a random place outside of it within your destination system. So that way if you can make it to the jump, you get a margin of safety. Now, and at the same time, so if you're trying to blockade a jump gate to, catch would-be travelers and the police forces come after you, then, you also have the ability to try to scatter. Although you run into the issue of once you scatter, you and all your buddies may be completely separated.
Scattered.
So right. And so, that makes for some additional interesting mechanics because, you might have mercs on the other side that are in the vicinity, but they're grouped up. So when people come through, they come through alone. There's all kinds of interesting ways they could go.
Is there a big concept of like wingmen, like as far as like when you're in a group, you link together or you jump all together or you get pulled out of jump together and that way you're
we don't know. I mean, I was suggesting it'd be interesting if when you jump together, you didn't come back. And, and so even in a big fleet, like say you came in with, a javelin and 2 Idris and a whole support fleet, when everybody jumps, the benefit of having an Idris or a carrier is the fact that you actually have more ships with you. And it also gives you a reason to have those ships docked before you jump. And then having those bigger ships, because they might have bigger communication arrays, bigger range on their sensors, would allow them to get their scattered fleet back together again.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, I could just imagine, like, the Idris is behind you, and I'm this little dingy ship, and I warp, and then I come out of the warp, and now I'm sitting here alone, and then, like, all the pirates come in to come take me out, and then, like, all of my buddies with their Idris and whatever come flying through, and then they're like, kind of Battlestar Galactica style.
Right.
See how that rolls, but
Well, you got to actually take a look at some of the ship components that we currently have and can see. You can see some planning in certain ships. For example, the Mustang Delta and the Super Hornet both actually come equipped with jump drives standard. So you can basically sortie out a few Super Hornets and Deltas from a carrier style ship, send them through the hole first to actually, even though you're going to be deposited randomly, they're going to give a field of security where they can respond and come from all different directions, so that when the Idris or larger ship pulls through, then they can all regroup after they've gotten through there, because they'll basically be already sorted and be able to actually go out and actually defend the Idris from attack.
I think in a group, I think if you're in that massive group still, I kind of feel like that whole, it should be a relative, like, they one at a time kind of like go jump, and then they all like jump and jump, come out all kind of similar, in that similar formation and everything else. So that way when you get out, it's not as disorienting.
I think
that's Go ahead.
I think that's what we've seen in a lot of. It's a science fiction trope. We've experienced that in almost every movie. They jump together and they come out together and they're in formation, ready to kick ass, and that's cool.
Nope.
But I think, well, I don't know. Like, it would be interesting if they actually went the other direction with it, because I think the gameplay that would come from knowing that as soon as your fleet jumps, you're going to be like sand scattered, and you're going to have to quickly try to come back together. You have both the safety of the fact that when you jump, anybody who's tailing you isn't going to be right on your ass, but it also means that when you're jumping in, you're going to be alone until you can get back together and re-hook up.
And just kind of flush your mind away from flying through formation while going through the jump tunnel and all that, because if you were to touch the edge of the tunnel, it's going to damage your ship. And if you take light damage, it might completely skew you and throw you off. Like I said before, it might jettison you to the other side of the system. But if you take over a half of the damage, like your ship has hit points, if you take a huge amount of damage, you might not actually make it through that jump. So even though it might be meant for larger ships, it still might not be possible to fly a formation through that. I don't see that as being a very good, because that's a really, in my mind, that's kind of, it could lead to abuse in a way, in my mind, because I think that if you everybody, all 50 of you just decided to roll out and bam, there you are, then you can pretty much just own that section and then just sortie right back through it. I see there being some bad game mechanics there.
Right. I don't know. Either way, it was a good topic, and it wasn't on the list, but I love it. Like, and the thing is they've said that we don't know yet. Like, they don't know. Like, we know that, like, if you get damaged mid-flight, that you could possibly die. We know that navigating a jump point that first time before you've mapped it and have it on autopilot or whatever is going to be dangerous, and it's going to come with risks. And we know that depending on how well you do during your navigation of that, you could die, you could be ejected, you could fail to jump, and all these other different things. But as far as how that actually is going to work out, they've said they're not sure. So it'll, once we get to that where we're transitioning systems and we're actually testing the jump systems out, I'm sure that they will give us every different kind of possibility as an option.
Right.
Smuggling. I'm answering Jeremy.
Hey.
Okay, last cargo topic before we move on. Smuggling. What do y'all think?
Haul ass. Literally,
No,
I want an endeavor full of prostitutes.
Well, I mean, so the main thing is, like, can you hide from other people's ship scanners cargo that you have when you are smuggling? That's obviously the thing, right? And so how do you? I mean, you put, like, you only have a certain amount of your cargo that you can hide, and that's where you put the secret stuff. Or you're going to have, like, mooring cops knocking on the door, board the ship, look around, look under tunnels, or, open up the secret hatch or what have you in the floor or whatever. I mean, that kind of
Merchantman and Hull C come to mind.
Well, actually, the freelancer has always touted the fact that it has, shielded cargo containers. So, and that might be interesting. Like the Hull series, overall, all of its cargo is externally stored and visually accessible. So, if there are external scanners that can reach into a ship and judge what you've got, you may run into issues where ships that internalize their cargo, therefore have a longer load and unload time, may have the advantage in a smuggling situation or carrying contraband. Whereas, the other ships may be able to load quicker, but their stuff is harder to hide what they've got.
Well, the question is too, how sophisticated are the scanners going to be? I mean, are they going to be able to detect, certain, okay, this is this type of metal, therefore we surmise it's ammo, can it food or whatever. So I think it really depends on how sophisticated the scanners are. But I do think you have a really good point.
Well, what about, like, when the police force comes in and scans? Like, if you're going to you jump into a station and, like, you're, say, in enemy territory or something like that, their police force there scans you and says, "Oh, you have contraband," then that puts a target on your head that people who want to, kill contraband guys can come take you out or not.
Personally, I hope that there are no magic ship scanners that instantly know what you're carrying or not carrying, unless you have shielding or not. I kind of hope that they might do like what Godric was saying, where, like, it tells them a percentage of metal, non-living, living matter, things like that, and then you can manipulate those numbers by using shielding to help cover things,
discrepancy.
Right. So that way, like, if you're trying to smuggle one person versus trying to smuggle 10 people, one is easier than the other, because shielding your ship so that it can hide, 10 living entities or biomatter versus 1 or 2 extra, it would be more of a challenge.
So then your grabby hands are going to be like, you're going to stuff people into the bottom of the cargo hold and put tomatoes on top of them. Is that what's
They could chalk that up to vermin, though. I mean, that's the thing. One person,
Right.
maybe you just happen to have spilled plant food, or you have like
Space
a cat or
vermin.
something.
I honestly, I'm down with the space vermin idea. I think that's
I'd
actually
love-
hilarious.
I'd love to have. I'd like to walk into a caterpillar that actually had cockroaches. I think that would actually add a good aesthetic to it.
Well,
Oh my
that's
God.
actually the thing I've always wanted in the ships too. Is like that. I know they talk about it. It's like actually debris and nonsense, not just vermin, but like
Fast
Coke
food boxes
cans
floating
and
through the air.
blah, and burrito bags everywhere.
Yeah.
Because who's really playing this, right? I mean, that's just what
Like a big Benny's bowl, just kind of floating.
And the thing is the first part of our conversation, we were talking about ship scanning, and I like what Godric was talking about where it gives you, scanners can only really give you like what kind of elements are on the ship. And so then you have like shielding and things like that as the gameplay mechanic to help defeat that or manipulate that. But another aspect is maybe when you're going into really high security, your ship actually gets stopped, pulled over, and they want to board your ship.
board and search.
Both NPC AI may want to do that, as well as pirates might want to do that just to get a visual. Because say Joe the pirate pulls you over and says, "Hey, drop cargo," and you're like, "I'm sorry, Joe, the cargo I've got is perishable fruit, tomatoes, spliced with potatoes, and and we didn't put it in containers that are space worthy." Now Joe knows that if that's the truth, then you really can't do it, and he knows that those tomatoes are valuable because space tomatoes are hard to come by. So he decides he's going to board your ship and see if you're telling the truth. And at that point, you might have your hard ammo physically hidden. Your high quality gold and such might be physically stashed underneath biological matter. So maybe certain scanners have to be done in person because they're short range to get a higher whatever. I don't know.
Well, and that leads you down to like the charisma effect, where like are you like as you do more negotiations or whatever, you get this ability to like be able to take like be able to
bullshit.
be able to convince a cop like, oh, I don't want the speeding ticket. Can you talk yourself out of a police ticket?
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah,
they have
you're looking for, right?
They have said that if you don't play through, so you'll get a status if you've played through the Squadron 42, that you will actually get a reputation as a citizen, which as if you do not play through and you just launch the MMO side of the game, then you get known as a civilian, and as a citizen you're got more perks and more pull than what a civilian would have. So technically you could actually talk yourself out of that speeding ticket.
Potentially within the UEE,
as a citizen.
Yes, but at the same time, that same reputation might hurt you with that positive reputation with the
pirates.
may not look as good if you're in pirate space,
And also, just to kind of make a point, I don't want to be killed by bounty hunters for smuggling. I honestly think that they would just chase you and you get like a blip of like 1 or 2. I think the bounty hunters role is going to be more. I think that role as a bounty hunter is going to be more technical. They're going to actually have to catch you and stun you before they can actually turn you in. Now, there might be some missions to where kill on sight is acceptable, but that's for like the griefers and such.
Maybe. Honestly, I would still hope that kill on sight might be for really heinous in-game criminal stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
The punishments that happen to griefers needs to be something that's meta. It needs to be something that influences and recultures them based on their denying them access to their toys.
I was going with the first thing that I had in my head, but what I was saying is like if you killed 3 people, griefing or not, that they would actually have permission to kill you.
Right.
Whereas if you're just I'm smuggling gnarly space fruit, then you're like a slap on the wrist, a big ass fine, and you don't get to fly that ship for a while.
Sure. What do you guys think about mass versus volume when it comes to cargo?
Love it.
Do you think you'll be able to carry like
I'm going to carry a cargo full of chicken feathers.
I mean, like literally, something that's super super dense, heavyweight, but barely takes up any room, or the other way around.
Unobtainium.
I guess it comes down to will a change, like, I guess it comes down to, will the mass of your ship based on your cargo actively change your ship's performance?
And I think the main thing that I don't know that I would. I mean, the making it not fly straight or something is not really where I think it should be. I think it should be mainly about efficiency and being able to take shorter jumps or shorter. I mean, I think that's where it's going to be.
Well,
You know, if it's in, which is going to cause you to use more fuel, which is going to cost more money, which is going to make it less profitable to do things. So as you get more skill at doing loading or doing whatever you got, I feel like that's going to help.
well, not only that, but also I mean, more mass would mean that it's going to take you longer to accelerate and longer to decelerate, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely, it should at a minimum affect fuel efficiency.
I was just thinking, what if Godric happens to find this Hadatian, obelisk that happens to be super, super dense but incredibly small? I would like to actually see the effect of that on a ship,
Yeah.
because what I'm thinking of is that it would be really incredibly slow to accelerate, but eventually it would still be able to achieve speed, but it would be incredibly slow to turn, incredibly slow to
Yes.
stop. And I would actually like to see that mechanic on there, because it would make for some pretty comical gameplay. Can you imagine just dropping? Oh, by the way, I'm just gonna drop this right here, like 3 of these, Haditian obelisk on your ship. Have a nice day, Mr. 300R or 350R or whatever. And just watch him like, what the hell?
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a really good point.
I just
Really
hope that
good
they
trap.
I just hope that they track mass and volume separately for the cargo you carry. So you
Yeah, that
might
makes
have
sense.
something that takes up a ton of cargo space, fills your entire hold, but doesn't really weigh you down that much, or doesn't really change your ship's overall mass or handling. But then you might get something that's really valuable. It barely takes up any room, but
Well,
super
and that's
efficient.
the whole thing about having the size of it based on how many cargo units is filled by this. It's like you'll have this whole inventory of how this is your product, this is the price, and this is how much how many units you have, and then those units will equate to however many cargo spots that it will fill up. I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I know right now that they've just talked about it being node based, and I mean we know that they want to affect. I'm guessing, like, as you equip more ammo, more weapons, things like that on a ship, then that changes your acceleration curves, I guess. But it hasn't. They haven't changed it so that any of those things affect the ship's top speed. I mean, I guess that's fine.
Well, it's going to have
it's
power.
just-
I would think you'd have, as you add anything, where you got this balance between your power, whether you got power, where you got fuel efficiency, where you got your mass, and you're going to have maximum masses. You're going to have, like, if you have a heavy cargo, you may have to like trade out, like not having one of your heavier laser guns or cannons or something like that, or what have you, and then you have to play these management games to make sure that it's like and you'd have like prioritization where it's like if you're going to do this big heavy load, then maybe you have to turn off certain systems or subsystems, something like that.
But in a management game, I'm thinking that you would honestly be spending more time. I mean, it is space. There's no friction, so you can theoretically just eventually, you'll go from 100
It'll
miles
take
an
forever,
hour.
but you'll get
Yeah.
there.
And so with that in mind, though, I'm thinking that the management game will be mostly on the pilot, which would make his game a lot more interesting on his end of it. He himself, he can't just be looping through asteroids all day long and that be his only challenge. He honestly needs to actually have something where he has to plan, okay, at what distance should I start to stop?
Right.
Well, that's the thing that happens in ED a lot, is that there's this whole concept of speed at different volume. Like, you have planetary objects, you have your sun, you got your station, you have planets, right? And when you're flying, it has this ramping effect where, like, if you're close to like if you're on the ground, you can only go this speed, and then as you get further from, like, you have to point your nose up and launch and get further as you get further and further, you gain speed, and then once you bust out of the atmosphere, then you go faster, and then once you get out into open space, you get even faster. And if you leave the star system and you just try to fly to the next star system, you literally even in that like there's different levels of impulse speeds. Well, anyway, your impulse speed goes just so distant. Then you go to they have multiple levels of jump. So you have like the multi in between stars jump, and then you have like when you're just flying though, like it literally speeds up. Like I started at like say 300 times the speed of light or something, and then when I was like halfway between two stars, it was like 1,500 times whatever the metric.
No, would you say 3 times the speed of light metaphorically?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying like whatever the number like. The number was 300, and now I'm going like 1,300. So like, and then but when I got between the two stars, then when I got closer to the star, it started slowing me rampingly down. And then when you go to a system, if you you're having to manage how you slow down there's like a sweet spot of how much how much where your throttle is. There's like a indicator to show where the sweet spot is, so that if you don't have it in that sweet spot, you can blow past the target that you're trying to go to. So there's this whole management concept of how, and like that same thing would happen in these big cargo ships. So you have to time so that when you go from the jump point, get out, and then try to go to the planet, you have to slow gradually down to where because like when you're going interstellar, you're going super fast, but when you're going planet to planet, it's like this gradual slowdown until you get like when you're now trying to do the docking, you have to be really slow to move that giant ship and land.
Well, it's one of those things like I was talking about how I was playing around with the 300 series and all of the different variants to compare their performance characteristics. Some of the 300 variants, if you're at maximum super cruise speed and you need to come to a halt and go the other direction, some of the ships will be able to slow down using just braking or throwing it in reverse. However, some of the ships, it's actually faster to do a 180 and apply your main engine.
Yep.
And not every ship, I mean, it's a case by case with every single ship. So it makes me really happy to know that even though I know the flight model is not completely done, that it's starting to get to the point where those kinds of subtleties and ship-specific handling characteristics are beginning to mean something.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. I mean, like I said, when we were doing that stuff, and you could do an arced curve, like if you're about to overshoot, like if you do a dive, you're still going really fast, but like your dive will slow you down and have you come back. And when you get out of that, to like I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of like a dogfighting term, but basically pitching forward until you're pointing underneath yourself upside down or whatever. Like once you've done that turn down, that has taken the speed off as well, and now you're going back the other direction. And now it's like that's a maneuver to do while you're in super cruise. But like you can't just like slam on the brakes and take a right. You actually have to plan to slow down.
Right. It will be interesting. I just hope that like the effect of cargo on a ship can go from mild to drastic on the same ship, depending. Because like for instance, if you like say you have an optimal weight, an optimal mass range that doesn't totally destroy your ship's handling and is efficient at a certain amount, and you can overload it if you want. Like if you find a cargo that's valuable enough that's super dense but doesn't take up a lot of space, you might be able to triple, where you change the mass of your ship towards 3 times what would be, considered functional, so that your ship like literally takes 50 seconds to get up to maximum speed or whatever it takes. And literally, oh, don't make me do it. So metaphorically, so when you get to your destination, you got to turn around and you got to engage your engines, and you got to make that calculation, or just eyeball it, whatever, or risk overshooting. I hope that they put it into our hands enough that we can make bad choices in how we load out our cargo or anything else. Yeah.
I think we're about ready to move on to the next section. So this is a new thing. And this is the community Q&A, and this is something that Ion has thought of. And Ion, do you want to go and explain it?
No, man, it's pretty straightforward. It's we took some questions on the Ready Player One forum, and honestly, anybody who wants to message into me can we can put their questions up. I don't think I got everybody's questions because I took questions yesterday, and then I'm sure people have added more. But if anything, we'll take those questions for next week. I just figured we'd go through 1 to 5 questions if anybody had anything specific to talk about for the guest or any of us.
You want to take the first one, or you want me to?
Sure, okay. All right, I've got a Omega 5677. He asks, I was curious about being able to warp away with ships docked to one another. So, do you want to answer that, Adrian? What do you know about ships docked?
Well, I understand that if a ship is docked through typical means like the RSI docking port, if they're connected together, that they are not able to actually fly. It's intended that way because you wouldn't want one ship to take off while docked to another. So I'm guessing there's a mechanic at play there that turns off all ability for both ships to fly away, because you would hate to know that your buddy who happens to be drunk that night is in his Aurora and you're on your Idris or some other large approximate ship, and you dock to him and all of a sudden he just drives off and crashes and pulls vacuum out of, and evacs all the air out of your ship. That just sounds like a really fun scenario.
But you do want to try. I mean, haven't you seen videos where they've collected, like, I don't know, a bunch of ships and tried to glue them together and create like a big space ball or whatever?
We've seen those, but what the idea here is that a dock in this case is where a ship is able to walk from one side of one ship to another ship. They are physically connected by a docking ring, and in that case, in scenario,
like the Auroras to the constellations, because they have the same. Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of par for the course, though. In I mean, not just in science fiction, but I mean,
it is
in general. I mean, 2 moving ships stuck with one another. I mean, that's normal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They're going to dock with one another and do that, but they're not going to actually be moving most of the time. Even in Navy, I don't think that one person would want to risk, because you're not only are you going a certain direction, but you're both going at the same speed. Even at that point, one ship might pull away and break, or a ship might pull in and crumple that same bridge.
The U.S. Navy actually does do that operation. They use a thing called a monkey ball, where they literally have a big ball of chain and they chunk it from one ship to the other, and then they line each other up, and in flight they will move cargo between their ships. Now I realize it's not quite the same, but I mean, they chunk. Realize there's a people. They have a basket, and they will put a human in a basket and sling them down a rope from one ship to another. That is totally a thing.
Well, 2 real-life examples that I can think of. I mean, one is mid-air refueling. I mean, although that's technically not docking, I get it. But
and the Starfarer can do that.
Another one would be when they bring astronauts or cargo or whatnot aboard the International Space Station. I mean, those are going at what I don't know, 150,000 miles per hour when they dock.
But the idea, though, that I'm saying is that you honestly don't want to make it so hard that you can never be pirated.
No, I mean, in the future, it would be largely automated.
Well, and to the point, the question does say warp away. So I mean, warping.
Well, when they say warp away, I would think like engaging into a super cruise or jump, or something like that. That's a different story altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was Chris Roberts or who it was.
It was CR.
They talked about in the case, like when a ship is docked, like for instance, the Idris has enough room that you can park a lot of ships on there. I mean, if it fits, it sits. So you could park, 7 M50s on the Idris. However, in order for the Idris to jump, now I don't know about Super Cruise or, regular SCM. I'm sure it can move with ships on board because it's a physics grid, so that should be fine. But in order to jump, it can only have that maximum of 4 ships internal. And I think they've said it just has something, it's actually a technical issue. It has more to do with, the physics grid and tracking all the different things. So so basically warp away, no, but have them internally docked if there are gravity platforms and whatever for that, yes. But then again, ships that are docked together, like say an Aurora docked to a constellation, those are going to have to be stationary. I'm pretty sure, because those ports where they're connected are not designed to handle any kind of synchronized stress, because
Well, it's the same thing. Like I think that you wouldn't be able to have like your armament. Yeah, you'd have to retract your armament or something or whatever before like doing a warp or something. That'd be a reasonable activity.
There shouldn't be any stress though, because you don't have any atmosphere, right? I mean, I'm not a physicist or anything, but
there's always going to be structural stress.
Okay.
I mean, that's like G forces. I mean, when you apply engine force to, like, if you, for instance, if you had two ships docked by an item port and they're both stationary, and then one of those ships engages its engines, well, the center of mass is going to be changed, so it would rotate, and then any of that rotation, right.
All right, so got another question here, Mr. Alex. We'll just say Alex Z. I'm horrible with names, and please forgive me. Alex is asking about stealth mechanics. He's wanting to know if the current viability and ways to reduce your EM thermal signature. The only way. Well, go ahead, Traz. I think you might have that one.
What?
Okay, fine.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No. Yes. So stealth. Right now, I mean, we're very limited. All the systems that are in place are the very rudiments. They're very basic. In the real world, if I'm at the corner of a building and I peek out around the corner at somebody who's 200, meters away, 300 meters away, I'm going to have a clear visual image of them. They are not going to be able to discern me peeking out from around that building. You can't accomplish that currently in StarCitizen, because right now sensor ranges, although we do have the basics of there's a heat, electromagnetic and cross section. So we've got, visual, heat and electromagnetic. Okay, great. That's fantastic. It's the start. Long term, though, they are going to flesh out that system, and hopefully what that'll include is resolution. In other words, your sensors, your radar, your active whatever will have a range where it can resolve a target. So if you have 5 M50s flying in a super tight formation and they're far enough away that your radar doesn't have a high grade resolution, it will show up on that radar as a single blip. Whereas if you've got, some fancy high speed early warning radar, or not early warning, but like high resolution, military spec radar, it may be able to pick out those individual targets. I mean, in the real world, you do have that. You have long range radar that just tells you that something's out there. It can't identify it. It can't tell you what it is. And then you've got all the way down to super high intensity, short range target acquisition and tracking radars that will literally guide a missile with a warhead into that moving vehicle that's
really
hurtling
powerful
through space.
radar.
So,
Let's not talk about missiles in 10-mile ranges. To add to what he's saying, there is a design doc floating around out there. I believe it had to do with the electronics warfare. Might be around there, might not be, but it actually goes through and explains radar technology. So the thing that you got to understand is that you have an EM signature, you have a thermal signature, and I remember I wanted to test this out, and I was so excited to do it, and I did actually do this with mild success. In Arena Commander, I picked up a ghost through the rec currency, and I picked up this ghost, and I just flew in Vandal Swarm, and I turned off every single sensor, and I turned off every single thing that I possibly could, and the Vandal could not find me. So right off the bat, there is a limitation to the type of skins that functionality is kind of sort of there, but what you have to realize is that the space that we have in a Marine Commander and the persistent universe is very flat as far as temperature is concerned, and it's also very flat as far as EM is concerned. So what can you do? Well, if you're really, really close to Dying Star, and let's pretend for a second that that Dying Star was actually a real functioning map, your thermal signatures will be incredibly low because the ambient thermal signature would be in that area incredibly high. You're so close to that star that your thermals would be underneath the radar, and so your thermal would be mistaken for ambient noise. You'd be safe on the heat side. Yes. And there are certain places in space where there are electrical storms. So in an electrical storm, you'd still be blended in as far as the EM is concerned. So you're going to have to navigate and mitigate different things in different areas. If you're in a hot area, like I said, close to the corona of a star, your thermal won't matter, but your EM will. If you're in a colder area, then your thermal is going to pick up really easy, so you're going to want to mitigate that. As well as you can always turn off more power draws. Like you don't have to have your guns on at all times. You don't have to really have to fly with your shield on all the time if you really want to be sneaky about it. But the more you can turn off, the more you're going to reduce the EM signature. The more that you can turn off it might actually cause a spike in the thermals for a little while. But you have to think of it like camouflage. It's not even really. There's no Klingon stealth cloak in this particular iteration of a sci-fi.
Right.
I love that topic. Sorry.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yep. And that pretty much covers it. It's something I'm super looking forward to because I mean I like the stealth ships. I like the Saber. I like the Ghost. I like what they're supposed to be able to do. But right now they don't really do it.
In theory, you should be able to thermally stealth an Idris.
In theory, you should be able to hover your ship right close to an asteroid, and unless they've got unless they're running active radar at close range, they probably shouldn't be able to pick your ship out against that astral body.
I'm thinking of the Vandal that are hiding on the asteroid rocks in the beginning of the Bengal carrier assault for Station 42.
The good news is we know that they intend to go the length and breadth of that system and really flesh it out. So it is exciting, but who knows where that priority is going to come in. So we'll see.
I loved it. Okay, next.
Right. All right. So anyhow, Yack, let's get back to you, man. So this give us a chance to give you a spotlight. So what are you been playing right now?
Godric?
Yeah, for the most part. I've been playing Elite Dangerous for about the last week and a half or so. I literally just kind of got it on a whim on a Steam sale, which is kind of funny.
Nice. Yeah, I think I saw that
before
sale,
that,
but
I
I
played
wasn't.
Natural Selection for I don't know, a decade and a half, which is another kind of space fighter game or whatever. But into that, it's sort of like a cross between StarCraft and a first-person shooter, which is excellent, I guess. And I'm sure StarCitizen within FPS portions of it will be very very familiar.
Nice. Did you ever get around to playing Planet Side 2?
Yes. I did play some of that. I mean, I've played all the Battlefields and then the 2142s and all that stuff, and then say some of the Planet Sides and that kind of thing. Those are all
Right.
good too. I mean, I like that whole genre. I love being able to have the different weapons and I love having many ways to attack and kill things. So I guess is the main thing.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like older FPS games, I enjoyed a lot of when I was younger, and I found that when I started getting into the really high-speed, rapid, twitchy games, I was pretty good, but I got bored. Like they just don't hold my interest for super long. I was really looking forward to checking out Arma, but around the time that I was about to jump into that was around the time that Star Marine got announced, and I was like, I'll just hold off and wait.
Yeah, Arma's really super detailed. I play with this group called Tactical Gamer, and they have a huge ARMA community, and they're like
Uh-huh.
all a bunch of ex-military dudes and all this kind of stuff. And they are
Super
really into it, and it's like really. I mean, it's like I say. I mean, I always kid them about how long it takes them to like load up their vehicles to be prepared to go in a drive and hike in the woods for a long period of time. I'm like, okay, guys, let's do a little bit more action here. But anyway.
Right. Well, the mil sim doesn't appeal to everybody, but at the same time, like when you've come from that military background, you can appreciate that. Like if you're going to go in for the win, you got to do proper planning. You got to do your proper, preparation. So, yeah.
All right. So,
you still there?
Yeah,
we're still here. So, what do you think SC will have the kind of gameplay and immersion that'll keep you invested for the long haul? The 10 years at a better ability than the previous MMOs and other games you might have played. Hey, he's not there now.
Oh, he lost voice. Hang on. Let me see.
Well, we can still hear each other.
I got him.
Okay, I'm back.
No, he just got moved to the other channel.
Darn it, I was going to answer on his behalf with unicorns and rainbows.
Right. Sorry about that. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but okay.
Okay, so what do you think about SC? Is it going to be able to hold your interest for the 10-year slated, or do you think that you're just going to try it for a few years? What are your thoughts?
20.
Well, I think it'll definitely be. I mean, something that's going to be a long, like more of. I hope it's a long-term kind of a thing. I mean, I definitely like the idea of kind of like growing, getting a ship, getting a fleet, that kind of thing, moseying over time. And like I say, I hope the main objective there is to making sure the community's there when you're flying. I always like doing cooperative play. And also I like doing lots of like multi-crew. That's something that very excites me or whatever. That's always what I like to do in other games as well. Either whether it's in Battlefield doing tanks and having tank drivers and tank targets and all that kind of stuff. I think that's like fun times. I also very much like the things I've enjoyed about even what's come out so far is I love the little missions with the storylines, and I love being able to I love being able to meet up on a base, get in a ship, fly out to a place, get a mission from something, go out, fly out to an asteroid, then like EVAing out, doing something, getting something or whatever, and like while that's happening, there's all kinds of fight going on, this kind of thing, and then hopping back in and flying out. I mean, I think that, and then I like the the teamwork aspects of all of it.
Right. I gotta say, like earlier pre-show, we had talked a little bit about how you had avoided early MMOs because you were worried that they were going to take up too much time. So it's hopefully this is good enough to to corrupt your soul.
That's right. Well, so I played MUDs on Unix computers in the early 90s, right? And those were the first level of those MMOs, and we wasted hours and hours of time with that. And so whenever Evercrack and all the World of Warcraft, all that kind of stuff, I saw that stuff and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do that kind of a mission or whatever. That's just way too much insanity for me. But I mean, at the same time,
it was revolutionary. It changed a lot of things culturally in the gaming communities.
So go ahead.
I guess one of the things I was thinking was, when I listened to the last time show, and you'd mentioned Starflight, and that was my favorite game as an 8-year-old or something.
Oh my God, I know, right?
That was fantastic. I mean, you were flying around doing missions and all this kind of stuff, doing cargo runs and all that. So good time.
Trying to trying to use your sensors to find where all the minerals are and on the planet.
Right.
Oh man, yeah. Good
well,
stuff.
And even Elite Dangerous, right? I played the original Elite Dangerous on Commodore 64, and he had a headset, and I think it's hilarious that 30 years later, I'm now using voice attack in StarCitizen and Elite Dangerous, which is doing the same thing I was doing 40 years ago.
Nice.
So, will you be engaging in the game more casually than other people, or are you going to actually go in there full throttle, fire of 1,000 suns and 1,000 vandal dead bodies?
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to be much more of a casual player. I mean, I like it. Whenever I do gaming like this for decompression anyway. So it's just I come in, I like just having an adventure, my gamer tag is Yack because I like to talk a lot. So I generally like to get in groups, get on the TeamSpeak servers and that kind of thing, or whatever voice comms they have or whatever, and then rolling around and having conversations while flying through space or whatever. So I mean, all of that is where I'm moving.
So what do you think is going to be worse, getting pirated by some heavy-hitting AI, or by a player?
Oh, it's definitely gonna be the player. I mean, because like I say, I mean, you can always, I think you'll always be able to, outdo, player AIs for the most part. And in any game I've ever played, that's always been the case. I say.
Wait. The question isn't whether one or the other can happen. The question is if both were to happen, which would be worse?
Well, the player, because then they're going to be harassing you on Uber chat and the
right,
or what have you, right? Giving you grief on the chat screen or the voice comms, either one.
Hold still and
we
I'll
must
make it
protect
quick.
the ego at all costs.
That's right.
So any families, friends, church groups that you've gotten into the game?
Well, for the most part, like we have a couple of organizations, like say the Tech Gamer Place, where I've gotten other people in that group to join into the fold or whatever. And then, like I say, at work we have several people that are on the fringe, like either just buying single ships or that kind of stuff. I know and then there's other people that I've been trying to get the devs. They're all like, I have a whole group of people that are playing a gambit of games right now, and I keep talking about this stuff, and they keep going like, that sounds crazy or amazing or whatever. And so some of them are off playing Eve and this kind of thing, and they're ready to, I think, jump ship from EVE over to this. I mean, I think it's just as soon as this thing gets done, I think is when it's gonna, or not done, but when more of it comes out, I think I'll be able to convince more people to start playing it.
Just what I need, more Eve people to shoot at. I mean, make friends with.
Correct. That's right.
So, how do you manage your interest in the game with so few players of the total Star Citizen player base? I mean, I guess it's kind of a redundant question because you've already talked a lot about being a part of a gaming clan community. And so even though you're casual, you actually have quite a few people that you can talk to and play with.
Well, so right. And that the interest part there is that some of the guys that I know have bought the bigger, cooler ships and stuff, and so they'll come on, and then we'll jump in and we'll try out another thing, or they'll have a new playable ship or something like that, and I'll go in and do crew stuff with them. And then as far as I have a flipboard and to get information or whatever that has they got RSS feeds from the Robert Space Industries and stuff like that. So I watch those, and watch the Around the Verses and that kind of stuff, which is kind of cool. And like I say, generally it's it's mild interest while waiting for more patches to show up, and then when a patch comes out, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll jump in or not or whatever, and and then kind of go from there. But good times though.
Right. Okay. So one last question for me, and then I'm gonna turn you over to Vadran. So you were saying that your girlfriend thought this was the most, or wife thought this was the dorkiest and most nerdy thing ever. So has she been listening to the show, or is she?
No, she's in the other room. But I told her that you were going to invite me on this as this guest, and she was just like, "Holy crap!" And then she immediately had to get off the phone with me and had to, because I was yesterday I got invited to this, right? And so I tell her oh, I got invited to do this podcast thing, and she's like, "What? I have to hang up with you right now because my cell phone's about to run out of the battery, and I have to call her sister and then talk to her about all this, about how dorky this thing is." And so now they're very interested, and they want to get leaks and watch the thing and all this kind of stuff to see us talking about all this nerd stuff. Which is hilarious.
You should have had them log in and listen to the tweet.
Oh, they would be griefing the snot out of this. I mean, when it's the sort of thing. I don't know. I guess you may or may not have wives or do this kind of stuff, but I'm pretty sure if you have had this conversation with your wives or anything else, they are just in their head going nerdy, 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 nerdy. Just oh my god, I can't believe you're talking about this, right?
I'm pretty sure if I ask Katrina right now, she could tell you that I'm a nerd anyway, so it's nothing new there.
Oh, certainly. I totally agree.
Well, the good news is we'll have it up on YouTube within an hour or two. So
she can play it
you've got infinite evidence, my friend.
Definitely.
Yep. Okay, so guys, we're kind of getting ready for the end of the show, and so if you're ready, I've got the final 5 questions for the player. So John, are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. The first question: keyboard and mouse or HOTAS?
Well, I actually try to get the X56 here at the end of the month when it comes out, and so I think I'm going to try out the HOTAS, mostly because of all the new mini sticks and stuff. Really kind of piqued my interest there, and that's where I think I'm going to go with it. Even though I know the mouse and stuff in Star Citizen has more controls or whatever, I just like the idea of the realism of it all.
You're the first person that took a very long time on that answer, so it is rapid fire, but you're awesome because you give a very detailed answer. Favorite flyable ship?
Well, the only one I have access to is my Avengers, so I'm going to go with that for the moment.
All right, favorite future ship.
The Reclaimer. I really want to try to, go out and to pick up debris after space battles, I guess. And it's the one that's the most mystery, I think.
So basically, ship go boom and you profit. Gotcha.
That's right.
All right, so ballistic or energy weapons, maybe something fancy.
Probably missiles. I like the idea of being able to just fire and forget, really. I think.
The rumor has it 2.4 is going to be very favorable then.
Okay, very good.
Look into the freelancer misc if you ever get bored. Craziest shenanigans that you want to pull off at game launch. It could be anything.
Oh, I would say I'd like to go. I don't know. I guess I'd like to just I'd like to get into the multi-crew stuff. That's really what I want to go. I don't know about shenanigans. I want to be able to get in the multi-crew ship, fly off, go to some star base, get in a bunch of group, land at something, take over thing, turn off gravity, and have a giant, zero VG battle. That's what I want to go.
Nice, nice. Well, John, it has been a wonderful time having you here on the show with us, and so thank you for hopping in and letting us get to know you a little bit better and voicing your opinions.
Absolutely, man. Thanks
Thank
for coming.
you. I had a good time.
And Traz did something with my text, so I don't know where the hell I'm at now.
All right. Well, to all of our listeners doing all the like, thank you for spending your listening time with us. Our shows have definitely gotten a little longer. Hopefully you enjoy that extra content and deep dive on all of our topics. Like and subscribe. If you got any feedback, for better or worse, give it to us. We need it all the time.
And if you actually don't feel shy about stopping by the YouTube archive, leave us a comment, download some music, check for any relevant links, the usual spin on things. Like, subscribe, or, tell us what we're doing wrong so we can at least get better. No trolls allowed, please.
Tell us what we're doing right.
Yeah,
Right.
baby, yeah.
I
All right,
like both
great
sides
stuff.
of it.
Great stuff. Give it a spin. Stop by.
All right, and out we go.
All right,
We
kick
have-
us into quantum, man. Take us out.
We have chainsaw sandwiches for sale.